All right, great. So welcome everyone. My name is E. Nunez and I do use they, them, theirs pronouns. And I am the Associate Director for the Undergraduate Research Center. And I'm so glad that you all are joining us today. Today we'll be talking about how to get involved in research, how to find research opportunities, tips and tricks that you should keep in mind as you are looking for these research opportunities on our campus. And most importantly, we will have an opportunity for you all to ask any questions you might have at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So here is our mission, our formal mission that we have at the Undergraduate Research Center. But what I like to say off of this slide is our number one job is to listen. Listen to each of you about what are your goals, what are your desires for when it comes to undergraduate research. Are you looking to go to graduate school? Are you looking to go into the industry right away? Are you not sure? Or are you somewhere in between those three places? Our goal is to make sure that we are listening and that we are connecting you to resources that are going to help you achieve the goals that you achieve or move towards achieving those goals during your time here at UC Davis. So let's do a quick question on the chat. I invite everyone to open up your chat, and I would love to see what folks think about what drives research. When you think of research in your head, you might think of someone in a lab coat, or maybe in a lab, or maybe out in the field somewhere collecting data. Strip away all of those things. What's one characteristic that you think you might need to have? All right, unanswered questions. Curiosity, right there, 3 in a row. Awesome. Progress, tracking problems in society continues to face. Absolutely, Ashley, great answer. The answer I'm looking for specifically is curiosity. So why is curiosity so important to research? Well, research, I would say about 75% of research is learning from the things that did not go the way you thought they were going to go, right? So maybe you have an experiment and it didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go. So you've got to be willing to go back through that process and identify where was the mishap, what caused the mishap, and most importantly, what do I need to do to figure out how to get over this hump to make sure that my research project is moving forward. So because research is so much about learning from what didn't go well, you really have to have a strong sense of motivation and a very strong sense of curiosity. What are you curious about is a question we will ask you from the get-go when you come in and talk to us about research. Were you the person growing up as a child and you saw something that was broken and you're like, no, I think I can make this work. So you maybe take it apart, figure out what's wrong with it, put it back together as brand new. Or maybe you take two things that are seemingly don't go with each other and you make something out of it. Or maybe you were the person that in your community, you saw a lot of homelessness and you wonder, why in my community do I see a lot of homelessness and not in other communities? Maybe your best friend had access to AP classes at their high school and you didn't, and you're curious about that. Right, so anything you're curious about, almost anything we can turn into a research project or find somewhere for you to connect on campus so that you can get that interest fulfilled. So time and time again, faculty have told us curiosity and motivation are the two most important characteristics they look for in undergraduate students who are getting ready to join their research teams or research labs. So how do we get involved in research? These are two primary ways to get involved in research. Emphasis on primary. These are not the only ways, but these are the main pathways to getting involved in research. So first we have the sponsored research programs pathway. And what that is that all of these programs have some sort of structure to them. There's a formal application process, a formal interview process. Some of the other similarities is they are all, or most of them are cohort based, which basically means a group of students is admitted at the same time. And that group of students or cohort goes through an experience together. In this case, that experience would be experiencing undergraduate research together. You're not working on the same project, or potentially you are, But the experience of going through research experience is what the one that you will be sharing. Another commonality is that many of these programs typically have a first year seminar that's attached to them, or a seminar in general. And that's a space where scholars are able to gather, build community, network with each other, network with other faculty members and scholars on campus. It's also a place where you might have guest speakers, professional development opportunities, where you can practice, let's say, your presentation skills or your science communication. Those are spaces that really are important to these programs. Some of these programs do pay students via a stipend, while others offer credit, excuse me. And so the stipend is going, or the compensation is going to vary based on the program. If for some reason, let's say McNair, which is not listed on here, they fund their scholars through the summer, but not through the academic year. And so there are some programs that have different setups. So you really need to make sure that you follow along with those. The other thing that they have in common is that all of them have a particular goal, right? So for example, Camp and MERPS, the goal of the Camp and MERPS program is to diversify the STEM in graduate education. So for Camp and MERPS, they're for STEM students who are interested in getting a master's or a PhD in the STEM field. Now, if you are not interested in getting a PhD or a master's in STEM, then Camp and MERPS is probably not for you, right? So all of them have a specific goal. So you want to make sure your goals align with their goals as well. So this formal application, what's on it? Basic demographic info, your name, major, GPA. If you're a transfer student, first year transfer student, you are allowed to put your transfer GPA. If you are a first year student, then obviously you don't have a GPA until the end of the quarter, so you can leave that blank. They also ask for rec letters usually. And again, if you are a transfer student, it is totally acceptable to ask for a rec letter from someone from your community college. In this personal statement or statement of interest, really they want to know why of all the programs at UC Davis are you choosing that program? How do your goals align with the program? What do you bring to the table? How will the program benefit from you being in it, right? And here you want to focus again on your motivation and curiosity. Another question for the chat: how many students at UC, undergraduate students at UC Davis, do you think come to UC Davis already having research experience? What percentage of undergraduate students come to campus already having research experience? What are your guesses? Put them in the chat. Let's see what you think. 15, 10, 2%, 0. Right. All right, I saw it there. Let's see, I saw it twice. 5%. I would say 5% or less of undergraduate students at UC Davis come with research experience already in their kind of under their belt, right? And the reason I like to point this out is because students sometimes hesitate to reach out or apply to research opportunities because they think they don't have research experience, and that's going to disqualify them. And so I let you know this because you are not alone in the sense of trying to get research experience, right? Many students are going to be starting at the same place you are. And so if you have research experience, then by all means, make sure to focus on that in the personal statement or letter of interest. But if you're like a majority of students and don't have research experience, you want to focus on that motivation and curiosity. Then after a review period, qualified applicants typically means that you've met the minimum requirements. So qualified applicants will be invited to an interview, and this will likely be a panel interview with 2 to 4 individuals on that panel. This panel ranges from current to past students who participated in the program, current or past faculty members who have supported students in the program managers, coordinators, or directors, and then other support staff who might support the program. For example, we run the Camp and MERPS program out of the Undergraduate Research Center, so I will often sit in on those interviews to support those programs. So that's how you get involved with the sponsored research programs. Pretty straightforward, follow the instructions, apply by the deadline, and then go through the interview process. Now, the less structured way to get involved is through volunteering or what we call research units. Think of this as an independent study that you, the student, set up with the faculty member. So research units on our campus refer to a compensation so you can get credit for the work that you do, right? And so these are called variable units. And that's a great thing for students because if you have, let's say, 6 hours to commit to a research project, then you get the equal amount of units, right? So you might get 1 credit hour. Anything above 6 units, you're going to get, or sorry, 6 hours a week, you're going to get 2 credit units, which just depends on how much time you have available to commit. On average, students at UC Davis spend anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a week on undergraduate research. So it is a significant commitment during the academic year on top of your regular academics. So here the application is going to vary. There are some faculty who are really great and make it very clear that they are hiring and that they have an application and they have instructions. In those cases, you want to follow those instructions. More often than not, you're going to find that a faculty member may not even advertise that they're looking for students, or they advertise that they have a student or want to hire a student, and they don't advertise how to apply. So here you're going to have to be contacting faculty to make sure that you understand, 1, are they hiring? 2, if they are, what does that application process look like? So here, when you're cold emailing faculty members, and a cold email is when you email a faculty member that you don't have a relationship with. You never had a class with them, you've never gone to their office hours, those kinds of things. So here in your email, you want to treat your email as the cover letter, and you always want to include your resume. Why do you think that in your email, you want to treat it like a cover letter? What's the benefit to doing that, you think, when communicating with faculty? See what y'all think in the chat. Benefit to treating your email like a cover letter when you first email faculty. Yeah, they already know who you are. They know what you're emailing for and why you're emailing, right? Yes, it gives a genuine interest and background. You're not just kind of emailing all the faculty members out there to email, right? They can see your previous work experience and your qualifications. It's all in one email, and it streamlines the communication between you and the faculty member. So you always want to make sure to treat your email as a cover letter, and your resume is always attached. Interviews will also vary, but they will likely be panel interviews as well, especially if there's a lab attached to it. And they might be current lab members, current students on the project, and things like that. It is okay to ask in both of these situations. It is okay if you get invited to an interview to ask, I'd like to know, what is the interview going to be like so I can be most prepared? That is an okay question to ask. So that way you can be most prepared for your interview and set yourself up for success. Now, one thing I will say for both of these ways to get involved is that if you have work study, and if you don't know what work study is, you most likely do not have it, but I'll give you a quick overview right now. So work study is a financial aid award that is provided to need-based students, meaning that a student is coming from potentially a low or limited income family, or maybe has no significant financial support from their family. I was a federal work study student, and I worked work study jobs all the time. I came from a limited income family. My family was not able to help very much with my degree, for my degree. So I did qualify for work study, and that allowed me to get an on-campus job. And so it's beneficial because it's a benefit to you, because if you have a work study award, it's not a grant and it's not a loan. You do not have to pay it back. And the benefit to having it is, if you use it, they will likely keep awarding it to you. If you don't use it, you will lose it, because the federal government will assume that you don't need the financial aid. So here, if a faculty member is saying, I can't pay you because I don't have funding, or a research program says we don't pay our scholars, If you have work study, make sure to always bring that up to your faculty mentor or the person running the sponsored research program, because you can get paid through your work study. And in fact, later this week, actually tomorrow, I will be doing a presentation on how to use your work study to secure a paid position. And I invite you all to come. I'm actually doing that presentation twice this week. One will be recorded and put onto our website so you all can have it. But I wanted to let you all know here that if you have work study, there is a way to get yourself paid for work study for your research experience. So I would recommend either coming to one of those programs this week or following up with me via email. Just make sure I don't have any questions in here. All right. Thank you, Jade and Dee, for engaging in the chat. All right, so what does research look like on our campus? I do like to tell students, these are not Google stock photos. These are some of our most recent alumni scholars who are all out doing great things right now in master's programs and doctoral programs and working in industry. And so I do like to tell students, these are real UC Davis alumni that you see on your screen. So what does research look like? Library searches, archive work, surveys, interviews are a couple examples. For example, I do education research. I research how students, first generation college students of color, access student support services on our campus and in higher education in general. So a lot of my research is doing interviews with students or employees or staff at universities, looking at surveys, doing library searches to see what's out there, or archival work to see what's been done in the past. You're not going to catch me doing a lot of laboratory bench work or modeling computation. That's more of a STEM type research activity. So it really is going to be dependent on your major and the type of research you're going to be doing. The great thing about UC Davis and our geographical area is that we have access to so many spaces out in the field that you all can literally get your hands dirty in research and get a real literal hands-on experience. We have lots of student-ran farms on our campus. We have a lot of agriculture around the surrounding Sacramento, Woodland, Dixon, and Davis area. There's a lot of places, and fieldwork basically means that you are doing your research outside of the university. So for example, you go and you observe a class to see how students are learning as they return back to in-person instruction. That's fieldwork. You go out and collect water samples at Lake Tahoe to test the water there. That is fieldwork, right? So anytime you are out collecting data, you are out doing research in the field, that can be considered fieldwork, which is also considered research. So for my creatives and my artists out there, research also applies to them as well and to you all. I will often get the question, E, how is this research? Well, when you look at research, research is about telling a story. Are you going to tell a story about first generation college students accessing student support services at a university? Are you going to tell the story of the impact of a particular drug on the treatment to COVID-19? Or are you going to tell a story through creating some sort of art piece, right? Each of these artists are telling a story through their canvas paintings, through their drawings, through their virtual video games, or even making gowns, right? These 4 photos here you'll see are from our arts and design exhibit at our annual undergraduate research scholarship and creative activities conference. And so this year we're excited to potentially bring it back in person. And so this is where you'll see a lot of these things. They have to be able to tell a story in their particular way as well. So making sure that the lines they use in their sewing or their painting, those are all being stories being told and built by the researcher or the artist in this instance. So what are benefits to research? There are lots, not enough to, or so many that don't fit on one screen. But I'm going to highlight on a couple. First, I'm going to highlight on the most common one that folks think of when they engage in undergraduate research, and that's that last bullet there. Earn letters of recommendation for graduate or professional school, and I would even add for going into your career later on, right? You're going to be spending, if you think about it, spend 10 to 12 hours on average a week with your faculty sponsor or graduate student doing research, and you do that for, let's say, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, that's about 60 hours, 60 to 70 hours. And so they're going to be spending a lot of time and be able to really talk to your individual contributions to research. And so that's really what you want to focus on for those letters of recommendation. Some other ones, the first four: critical thinking, analytical skills, teamwork, communication, and leadership. These are skills that are called transferable skills, meaning that you will need these skills if you are a full-time researcher at NASA, or you're a franchise owner of a Starbucks here in Sacramento, right? You're going to need to have communication and communicate effectively with your team members. You're going to need to have teamwork and leadership skills and problem-solving skills. These are all things that, regardless if you become a full-time researcher, you're still going to be able to talk about in your interviews. You're still going to be able to kind of rely back on as you're going into the industry. So even if you go through a research opportunity and you think, you know what, this is not for me, that's okay. You're still going to be able to take a lot from that experience. The last one I want to bring up is increased confidence. So open that chat box back up. What did it feel like for you when you first started to ride a bike? What kinds of things, what kind of emotions or experiences were you having when you first got on a bike as a child? Or even as an adult, because I honestly don't know how to ride a bike. I'll be real with y'all. So what did you all feel when you first got on that bike? Nervous, scared but excited at the same time. I feel that, David. What else? You were going to fall any second, anxiety with excitement for sure, right? And did anyone actually fall? See from a show of hands, use your emojis. Yes. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Right. So when you get on that bike for the first time, right, you're going to be wobbly. You might even have some training wheels on, knee pads, elbow pads. You're ready to go just in case you fall, right? Well, research is kind of the same way, right? You're going to be nervous going in. You're going to be nervous because you don't know how to do it, just like you don't know how to ride a bike the first time you get on a bike. But as you continue to do it more and you get more practice, you're going to become more confident. Your training wheels are going to pop off. You might even take your elbow pads and knee pads off. Hopefully you always keep your helmet on when you're riding a bike, right? But this is the same thing with research. As you continue to do it, as you continue to experience research, as you continue to learn from your your challenges that come up, use those analytical skills and critical thinking skills, your self-confidence is going to just keep going up, right? And so even if you are so really nervous right now, I would encourage you and invite you to just get on the bike and take that first spin and see how it goes. And know that it's going to get easier as you continue to advance in your research journey. All right. So where does it all start? Again, what are you curious about? What makes you curious? And it doesn't even have to be a full sentence, a full thought out and constructed thought. It can just be a bullet point, one word, a photo, or anything like that. What are you curious about? Second, how do you learn best? Do you learn best by using your hands a lot? Do you learn best by visually seeing visuals, by auditory? Do you work best in a team? Do you work best on your own, right? What specific skills are you wanting to gain? Do you want to go to graduate school or professional school? Because if you know what skills you want to gain, then you can find those opportunities on campus. And most importantly, what do you need to be successful? And in this instance, I'm talking specifically from like a mentor, right? Because you're going to be working with a faculty member or a graduate student or even a fellow undergrad who's going to kind of help you along and help train you. And so what do you need to be successful? All of these questions only you can answer, right? And these are going to help us connect you to resources and opportunities on campus. So Joni here was a travel award recipient, and I really like her quote here. And I'm going to read it out loud. Be passionate about your research. If you're not invested, it's very difficult to do research well. Be inquisitive and logical about your research. If something seems wrong or interesting, speak up and look into it. The critical thinking is essential to the advancement of science. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when I was growing up, I always got in trouble for asking a lot of questions. Why this? How that? Why this? How that? Right? Research is the land of welcomed questions, right? So long as you are willing to do the work to try and find an answer, right? Or get you close to an answer. Because at the end of the day, sometimes research won't give you an exact answer, but it'll give you just a little bit more information to look at something differently, right? So I invite every single one of you that if you have questions when you are engaging in research, as you look for research opportunities, ask those questions. There are no wrong questions, no dumb questions. Research is the land of invited questions. So where on campus do I actually look, right? So current and past classes. And if you're a transfer student, this includes your experience at your community college. If you're a first year student, this includes your experience in your high school, right? What classes grabbed your attention, right? What classes, what was it about that class? Was it the topic? Was it the faculty member? Was it the way it was structured? Because those all can lead to answers to the first step, which is that reflection piece, right? Colleges and department websites. Here's a question for you in that chat. So I like to tell students, think about if your research was a department, where would it live? For example, let's say I am interested in the voting trends amongst college students. What department would I live in if I was that research? I'm interested in the trend of voting, the voting trends of college age students. What departments do you think I should look in? Political science, sociology, absolutely. Social sciences, yes. Political science, absolutely. Great answers. So I might go and look at the political science department and see if there's any faculty there that are doing research on voting, voting laws, voting trends, voting anything, right? I might go to sociology to see who is looking at college going behaviors, right, amongst college students. So these can give you insights as to where your research might live, can give you an insight as to where you might find a research opportunity that is along the interest that you have, right? Handshake is also an opportunity. If you do not have a Handshake profile, I would strongly, strongly encourage you to do so. Handshake is the portal that allows students to apply to on-campus and off-campus job opportunities, internships, and research opportunities. There is a research filter that you can look through all the research opportunities that are listed in Handshake. And the benefit to Handshake is that you can apply directly in the portal, right? So for our student assistant positions in the Undergraduate Research Center, we use Handshake. And so at the end of the day, whenever I have my stuff posted, at the end of each day, I will get an email that says, these 4 students apply to your position. Down here, click here to download their documents, right? And so it's a really nice and easy way to apply for opportunities on campus. And also off campus. The URC obviously can help you out by giving you more information. We don't do one-on-one advising, but we do group advising, so we can help you there. Lab websites can also be helpful, but I do put that asterisk there because not all lab websites are created equally. And so some are going to be super informative and some aren't going to have very much information. So you might have to contact the faculty directly or a graduate student directly. Resumes and CVs. What's the difference between a resume and a CV? Who can tell me in the chat? What's the difference between a resume and a CV? Anyone know the difference? British and American. Probably. Yeah, CV is a summary of your interests. Okay, what else? What are some other thoughts? So a resume is a list of past work experience and awards. Yes. All right. Gregory and uh, Fatima got it right in the chat. So a resume is going to be the most relevant experience, awards, services that you have that are related to the position you are applying to. A CV, which translates to which stands for curriculum vitae, which translates to life story, is much, much longer and typically is found most in academics, right? So faculty members, researchers will have CVs. And it really is a long list of a full history that that person has. On this campus, especially for undergrads, I have found that these are used interchangeably, resume and CV. And so if you see this both listed, like resume and CV, I would ask the faculty member or the program coordinator which they prefer, because on this campus, they kind of tend to be interchangeable. The Internship and Career Center has some great resources. They have actual examples of resumes. They have examples of cover letters and how to write a cover letter, what you should include in a cover letter. So they are a great resource. And they also have walk-in hours every weekday 10 to 4. So you can also go into the Internship and Career Center and get some feedback that way. In your cover letter or email, right, you're going to introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you applying for? If you don't have a specific position that you're applying for this question, you can say something general like, I'm interested in working on your DNA replication project that is listed on your website, right, your lab website. So they may not have a specific position open, but just a general interest as to why you are applying to that specific program or lab. And then what skills? What skills do you bring? Do you bring strong motivation, strong curiosity, teamwork? Do you have research experience? This would be a place to put that in your cover letter, is talking about the skills that you bring to that position. Positive promotion and marketing. So what does this mean? Let's say a position calls for you to be fluent in Python, which is a coding language, right? But you're moderately, like, you just began to understand Python. So how do you promote yourself with that? One way that you can say, if you're asked in, like, let's say an interview, if you have skills with Python, you can say, I've just started to learn Python, and I'm excited to learn more, so that way I can be a contributing member of this lab, right? So you're telling them, yes, I have experience, but I need more training, right? Now, there's limits to this, because let's say a position says you have to be fluent in Mandarin, and you've never spoken a word of Mandarin in your life. It is highly unlikely, unless you have a really good way of picking up a foreign language, it is highly unlikely that you are going to learn a foreign language in time to be an effective contributing member of a research team, right? So positive promotion and marketing within reason. Okay. So contacting faculty. Now that we are back in person is best. You can do it before class or after class if your faculty has time. Office hours are going to be really important. If your faculty member is hosting virtual office hours, I would recommend that you go to those office hours as well. Now, with office hours, you don't have to have a particular question. Let's say you see a faculty member and you're like, wow, I want to learn more, and I'm not really sure, like, if this is something I should, like, send a formal email to. Visit them in their office hours and just say, you know, I'm a second-year student on campus and I'm kind of exploring research opportunities. I came across your lab and I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about what your lab does, right? So really use those opportunities to build connections, network with faculty members as much as possible. And then emails, mind your email etiquette. It is very, very important that before you send an email to anyone, make sure you read it to yourself or you have someone else read it for you that you trust. For me, I have some learning disabilities that I have to manage. For example, I am dyslexic. And so when I send an email, especially if I'm sending an important email to like my boss or their boss, I will often read my emails out loud to myself. This helps me hear where I might have misspelled a word or I might have switched some words around, which is, I do that a lot. And so doing it out loud helps me hear where those mistakes might have happened. Whereas if I'm just reading it on the screen, I'm not going to pick it up as much. Right. So something I tried, maybe you have some different ways of making sure that you catch those grammar errors. Grammarly has been amazing. So there's all these resources out there now. Mind your email etiquette. So a lot of students will ask, how do I set myself apart from the 29,999 other undergraduate students that are on this campus, right? The way you set yourself apart is by following up. We have had faculty members tell us, especially faculty members who have really popular labs, if they get 20 emails, they might wait a day or two to see how many of those 20 students follow up. Because if you are taking the initiative to follow up, it means you have genuine interest. And again, less likely that you're kind of just emailing every faculty member to see who sticks, right? So follow up. It is important. It is what faculty have told us will set you apart from the pack. Did see a question come in, so I'll make sure to answer that. Let's see, is in-person best, even if you don't know the faculty member? I would say in-person is better, even if you don't, especially if you don't know the faculty member, sorry. Especially if you don't know the faculty member, in-person is best, right? Because if you're in class, they might remember your name from a roster, they might remember your face if you asked a question. But if you don't know that faculty member, then they don't have those opportunities to remember who you are. So coming in to the office hours, introducing yourself, even if you don't know them, is a good idea. And then I would recommend, again, with that follow-up, after your meeting with the faculty member, follow up with them and say, dear Professor so-and-so, it was so great to meet you today. I really enjoyed learning about X, Y, and Z. I look forward to stopping by again in your office hours soon, right? So I would say yes, definitely. If we are following up, should we reply to the initial email or make a whole new email? Really great question. Following up should always be to reply to the initial email. Because if for some reason the faculty member truly did not see the email, then sending it from the initial email will provide them not only the reminder like, oh, I forgot to respond to this, but also provide them with the original email, right? Yeah, they are super busy, right? I would say give faculty at least 24 to 48 hours, probably more on the 48-hour end to get back to you, especially right now at the beginning of the quarter. It's getting really busy. Just think about when you have midterms, right? It's busy for you. And then about the week or two after that, it's really busy for faculty because they've got to grade all those midterms, right? So just take the time of year in context as well. So where are we located? We are so excited to be back on campus. We are located in the Student Community Center on the second floor, right above the Cross Cultural Center. We are in a hybrid for the fall quarter. We are open Monday through Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we are 100% virtual on Fridays. You can still contact us on Fridays. You can just contact us at this email here, or you can contact a staff member directly. And our website, our colleague Dee Clark has done an amazing job with our website. And so I invite you to take a look at our website. We have a lot of stuff there. We revamped it over the pandemic to make it more user-friendly. And the all-important video library will be on there as well, where you will find recordings like the one today or recordings from previous years on all of the services and awards that we offer. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing here. And I'm gonna check on the chat and see what we see here. How do we find professors' office hours if we are not in their class? That is a great question. Because I have found that faculty members here don't usually list their office hours on their websites. So I would say the best way is to email that faculty member and just let them know, dear Professor so and so, I'm really interested in coming and visiting your office hours, and I'm wondering if you can tell me when those are. And you can even say, I'm interested in research. I was looking at your website and I have a few questions for you, right? That's going to be your best bet. Or if you know someone in their class, you can always ask them when the office hours are. Do you need an appointment? Zaya, is this for, are you talking about for office hours on this one? So if you're talking about office hours, or do you need an appointment? Oh, when visiting the URC. Thank you for that clarification. So if you're just visiting the URC to come and get some general information, you do not need to make an appointment. You can come in at any time. However, if you have a specific question or you want to sit down and talk to someone, I would recommend scheduling an appointment. And that can be on a case-to-case basis, depending on who's available on the team. So yeah, if you have a very specific question, go ahead and come on in and we can get you scheduled for an appointment, or you can send us an email at the urc@ucdavis.edu. I'm gonna drop that in the chat really quick. So there's our general email that you can send. We do have about, let's see, 8 minutes left. What other questions? All right, here they come. Would it be best to start with research on campus rather than going to do research off campus? There's no real perfect step-by-step process on where to do research or when to do research. I tell students that this is up to you. If you feel you are confident and ready, not even confident, you're ready to jump in, you're excited, maybe you're a little nervous, but you're mostly excited to jump in, then the time is right for you, right? There's no specific time. Some students do, maybe they do their first research experience during the summer because they aren't taking classes. And when folks do research during the summer, it's more likely that they might do it off campus somewhere, right? So it really depends on you. I would say if an opportunity looks interesting to you, regardless if it's on campus or off campus, I would encourage you to apply for it. Do research positions usually have a 1-year commitment or are they more flexible? It depends. There's no like standard commitment. Sponsored research programs will have typically an academic year commitment. So for example, Camp and MERPS applications are being accepted now and they will begin in the winter. And so for the academic year, it's the winter and spring with the option to continue on to the summer, right? Some will be a 1-quarter commitment. Some will depend on the size of the research project. It varies from faculty to faculty. Would indicating that you want a long-term commitment be wise? I would say be cautious on that because you never know, right? You never know if like another opportunity might come up or you don't want to commit to something that you don't know how it's going to work out, right? So maybe you're getting into a research project and you think it's going to be one way and it's a different way, so you might decide to switch. So I think if you are looking for more than a quarter commitment, I would look at those programs and those positions that offer that time commitment. If it doesn't list one, I wouldn't commit yourself to anything formal outside of what they require. From your experience, what time of year do researchers usually start looking for new lab assistants on campus? So the beginning of the year, so right now, the beginning of academic year is a really busy time where folks are hiring. Again, there is no like time frame of when you can look for a research opportunity. You can look at any time you're on campus. Most of the time, I would say the beginning of the quarters is probably a good time to check in with faculty if they are hiring, because they will know if, like, let's say they had someone graduate in December and they need to fill for the winter and spring or vice versa. So I would say maybe the beginning of the quarters might be a better shot than, the middle of the quarter. But then again, faculty get funding at all times of year and they have to get their research projects done. So I would say keep applying until you secure a position. So this recording will be available on our video library. Probably it'll be available sometime this week. All right, we have a couple more minutes left. If there are any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat or hang out. I will hang out here for a couple more minutes to answer any questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.